Welcome, Deep Dive listener. Today, we're plunging into something pretty seismic in the Middle East. That long, long shadow war between Iran and Israel. Because in early 2024, well, everything changed, didn't it? Old doctrines, just broken. We've gathered the sources you sent, analytical reports, strategic thinking to really unpack what went down, what this new equilibrium means, and maybe what's next.
Yeah, it's fascinating. You had this confrontation that was always, covert, fought in the gray zone.
Yeah.
Right? That space just short of actual open war. And then suddenly, bang, direct military exchanges right out in the open, unprecedented, just completely tore up the old rule book instead of this new, really volatile deterrent situation.
Okay, so let's rewind a bit to get the context. How did the shadow war even set the stage? I mean, for what, 4 decades, Iran's been building this axis of resistance, allies, proxies, Hezbollah in Lebanon, for instance, what is it, like 150,000 rockets?
At least enough to hit anywhere in Israel.
Yeah.
And then you got the Houthis down in Yemen threatening the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, critical shipping lane.
Yeah, right. And meanwhile, on the Syrian front, Israel's war between the wars, the Ma'bam. Hundreds of airstrikes trying to stop Iran setting up shop there permanently.
And that's just the overt stuff. Clandestinely, you had things like Stuxnet.
Ah, yes, the Mossad-linked virus hitting the Natanz centrifuges.
Exactly. And on the flip side, sophisticated Iranian cyber attacks hitting, say, Israeli water systems.
So all this cloak and dagger stuff, the proxy fighting.
It was all designed, really, to keep things indirect, to avoid a direct state-on-state war.
Yeah.
But that psychological barrier just shattered. April 1st, 2024, the Damascus consulate strike.
Israel hitting an Iranian diplomatic building, which is like hitting sovereign territory.
And killing Major General Zahedi, a top IRGC guy. For Iran, that was, well, an unbearable humiliation. It demanded a direct response.
Okay, and this is where it really flips. Iran's retaliation, Operation True Promise, mid-April.
Massive. Just a huge, complex barrage. Over 300 munitions sent towards Israel.
Drones, cruise missiles.
And even hypersonic ballistic missiles. Stuff designed to overwhelm defenses.
But it didn't, did it? Israel's air defense, layered, plus help from the US, UK, France.
And critically, Jordan playing a role too.
They knocked down, 99% of it? Astonishing.
Truly astonishing. A huge demonstration of integrated defense. But also, it shaped Israel's next move.
Which was calculated. Days later, they hit back.
Very carefully calibrated. They took out the fire control radar of an S-300 battery near Isfahan, near a nuclear site.
Wow. So the message there was pretty clear.
Oh, crystal clear.
Yeah.
Surgically precise. It basically said, look, we can get through your best defenses. We can reach your most sensitive places. We can hit you hard. But, crucially, we're choosing not to escalate further. For now.
So that brings us to this new normal you mentioned. What does that actually look like?
Well, the big psychological barrier is gone. Direct attacks are now on the table. Both sides have publicly shown they'll retaliate directly if their sovereign territory is hit.
But we're back to proxies mostly, for now.
Largely, yes. But the underlying driver, the big one, is still Iran's nuclear program. They're enriching uranium up to 60% purity.
Which is technically just a small step away from weapons grade.
Exactly. And you hear Iranian officials openly talking about maybe revising their nuclear doctrine if the regime itself feels threatened.
And meanwhile, everyone else is trying to keep a lid on it. U.S. Gulf states.
Absolutely. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, they have huge economic plans. A wire war would devastate those. So the pressure to de-escalate is intense.
Okay, so looking ahead, what do the sources suggest? Full-scale war seems unlikely right now, but if it did happen?
If it did, the prediction is high intensity but short. Weeks, maybe months.
Why short?
Several reasons. Rapidly using up advanced munitions, the sheer economic cost becoming unsustainable very quickly, and immense international pressure forcing a ceasefire.
But the damage in that short time.
Catastrophic.
Oh.
For everyone. Israel would face saturation attacks, especially from Hezbollah firing thousands of rockets daily. Their military stretched thin.
And
precise Israeli strikes hitting nuclear sites, missile bases, key economic assets like oil refineries. That can even store up internal dissent against the regime.
the global impact.
Huge. Iran would almost certainly try to close the Strait of Hormuz. Combine that with Houthi attacks on the Bab el-Mandeb.
You're basically severing 2 of the world's main maritime oil and trade routes.
Exactly. Global energy crisis overnight. Massive inflation. Supply chains just broken.
So it really feels like we've crossed a threshold. The immediate crisis might be over, but that line between shadow war and open war, it's incredibly thin now.
It is. And this deep dive really shows, I think, how tied the whole global economy is to this really fragile balance in the Middle East. One miscalculation.
And the consequences could spiral way beyond the region. Unpredictable and disastrous.
Yeah.
So thinking about all this, how does it change your view on global security? And what might be the next flashpoint you'll be keeping an eye on in this new precarious situation?